Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Korean Connection. Tired of everyone telling you to find your passion, but no one telling you how? Welcome to the Korean Connection, and I'm your host, Korean, an attorney with a passion for empowering others to use their many talents and skills towards a path of self discovery and alignment. Join me as I share my personal stories, professional insights, and practical tips, and how you can connect the dots between what you're great at and turning your passions into purpose. Let's connect. Push it to the left, make it go a little more. Make it like no, I'm coming back home. I'm driving all of my you. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Write my name in the stone. Cause I'm coming back home. Cause I'm coming back home. Welcome back to the Korean Connection. This is episode 33, and today's title is Who Are You When No One Is Watching? Now, question, if there were hidden cameras in your home, or better yet, hidden cameras in your mind, would you still be proud of the person that you are? Now, today's episode, I want to dive into that idea of the gap between who we portray to the public and who you are in private. Because the reality is we spend so much time on our image, cultivating our image, that we forget to cultivate our character. Now, this title came to me recently because of things I was experiencing in my own home with my own children. Now, as parents, we want to teach our children to be respectful and to be polite and, obviously put their best foot forward when they're in public because they are a representation of you when they're out in a public space. And what I realized is that although my children are respectful and they are polite in public, not so much at home. And it begs the question, what values are we actually teaching our children? And how are those values being translated not only publicly, but how does it speak to the character of who they are when they think no one is watching? And so I wanted to just talk about that for a second because it's not only with our children, it's with us as adults. Think about how much time we spend on our image, how we put ourselves together, what type of clothes we wear, what brands we wear, what content we post. We are focused as a society on not our character so much, but mainly on our reputation. And if you just sort of sit down and think about, what is it that you do in your quiet space, in your safe space, which is at home? Are those people, are you reflecting the same person, at home than when you are in public? And so today I want to explore that gap, right? The gap between who you say you are and who you really are, right? When no one is watching. Now, one of the things that I, in talking about my children again, the other day, well, just in general, I think that children are my children, are things I'm seeing in my kids. They're not very considerate of each other. And that's something that I've been trying to work on a lot in my home. And it manifests itself in so many different ways. When I buy groceries, right? I buy enough, obviously, for everyone in the home, but their usage of the things that I buy, one, sometimes is wasteful. Right? How many times you find those half drunken, water bottles all over the place, right? And then you go to get a bottle of water and there's none in the fridge. There's nothing to drink. That happens so often in my house. And so I'm constantly in this battle with them about just being considerate of each other. And the thing about it is one of the things that kind of baffles me is that the adults that are in the home, meaning myself and my partner, we try so very hard to show how considerate we are of them. We share everything with them. We try to instill that sort of sharing and community lifestyle. My partner, she never comes home empty handed. And if she's coming home with something, she's making sure that she's coming home with two things, right? Something that can be shared equally or something that they both can get something. Likewise, if sometimes I come here on and my Saturdays and I record, and if I have a guest, oftentimes we'll go and grab something to eat. And for whatever reason, it never necessarily feels right with me to know that I'm sitting out having a meal and I don't bring something home to the kids. So to the extent, if anytime I feel like, okay, I'm getting to a level of satisfaction, if there's anything that can leftovers to like bring home to the kids, I know that's something they would look forward to. So I'll try to bring something home for them, even if it's a little taste of what I'm having, right? And a few weeks ago, I did just that. I had a guest. We went out to eat, and I wasn't very hungry. So there's quite a bit of not only what I had left over, but what my guests had left over. And I thought, what, instead of letting the food waste, I'll take it home for the children. And it just so happens that after, once I got home, I wasn't feeling very well. And so I felt like I was coming down with something, and sort of anticipated because my daughter had been sick, and missed quite a few days of school the week before. So I was like, okay, oh my God, now I'm getting what she's getting. So, I brought the stuff home. I shared it out for them. And, I'm now in bed because feel like whatever it is, it's coming down on me, right? And because I decided to share my meal, now a couple hours later, I'm starting to get a little peckish. So, I said to my son, Julian, can you just go get me slice up an apple and, pair it with some peanut butter and just bring it to me so I can just have something to snack on because I'm starting to get hungry. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, had I finished my meal that I had with me that I shared with my friend, I wouldn't have been hungry until dinner, right? But that wouldn't have sat right with me. And I brought it home with them and I shared it with them. But now I'm getting hungry. So I'm like, bring me an apple, a sliced apple. And and when I tell you I had to wait at least 30 minutes, I could have died in that bed, right? Before the apple came to me. And it really pissed me off because, it's hard to think that your children, even when you're in a state where you're not feeling well, and I'm telling them like I'm sick, I'm actually not feeling well, and I'm in the bed, and it was of no consequence, right? No consequence. The other day, shortly thereafter, my son got an award in school. And he's like, Mom, I got an award. And I'm like, really? You got an award? It's just like a random day. It was no award ceremony or anything. He just kind of came home with a certificate. He was being recognized by like his peers and his teacher. Do you know what this award was for? The kindness award. He got a kindness award at home. And meanwhile, there's very little evidence of kindness towards the people at home that loves him dearly. And, the people who show him love 24/7 and have his back, his sister even. I'm constantly breaking up fights between them. He has very little both of them, not just him, but they're very impatient with each other. There's no grace. There's no consideration, right? And meanwhile, he's getting the kindness award from strangers. And it begs the question as to why are we kinder or nicer to strangers than the people who matter to us the most? Now, obviously, I know that, when you're home, your house, your home is your safe haven. The people who loves you, you don't necessarily have to perform for them. So I get that. You want to feel comfortable in your home. And I do want my children to feel like their home is their safe space where they can make mistakes and, lounge and not be in a performative state at all times. But Why do we have such little patience for the people that we love, the people who know our patterns? Now, I want you to think about this in your daily lives. Are you as kind to your spouse? Are you as patient to your children as you are when you're outside of your home? And why is that? Why is it so easy for us to perform in public, but in private, we don't give the people that matters to us the most that same grace? Now, you know, w- um, I had the opportunity to see the documentary called "The Reckoning" that 50 Cent just put out, and it's obviously pertaining to Puff Daddy. And everybody sort of always think that 50 Cent, he's like known to be petty, and he doesn't really forgive, and he doesn't forget, right? And the pettiness carry, I mean, he's hilarious, his platform is hilarious, and I'm definitely a follower. But there's this, he's very vocal about his dislike for Puff Daddy. And so, he here comes this documentary, and then a lot of people were speculating as to all the reasons why he put this documentary out. But one of the things that I see in 50 Cent and perhaps even his dislike for Puff Daddy is the fact that he tries so hard to portray a specific image as to who he is. Meanwhile, the people that surrounding him, his crew, his lovers, his girlfriends, his mom, his employees, they see a very personal and very different and darker side than the respectful, successful, image that he tries so hard to maintain. And I think that was the fuel behind this whole documentary called The Reckoning, right? It was about portraying people being able to see who he is, right? In when he, well, not even that, when, because even when the camera is rolling, he knows the camera is rolling. He doesn't necessarily think that it's gonna, the is gonna be portrayed in the way that is being portrayed now, like for the truth of what he is. He didn't have an opportunity to curate, the scenes and images that are being portrayed in this documentary. But I think that's really the gist of what 50 Cent is really trying to show us through this documentary. The documentary literally starts with Puff Daddy speaking to his lawyer. And in that conversation, he was just saying, listen, man, we need to get ahead of, what the jury is going to see. We need to be able to, through propaganda, through social media, through whatever means, getting somebody even from out of the country who knows how to, finesse the dirtiest and the ugliest in order to shine like a positive light on who he is, because he knew what was coming, right? And that conversation with his attorney was very eye-opening because, you can tell that control is so important to him. And throughout that documentary, that's one of the things that kind of shine through, right? He wants to control not only his image, but control the people around him. How people perceive him in a public space is very important to who he is, right? So he wants to control his reputation, but has no control over his character. And through this documentary, we're able to see this on a very large scale, right? And the truth is, most of us, a lot of us, many of us won't be able to understand the level of influence and get to the level of fame and stardom and have the level of power that P. Diddy has, right? But in your own life and on your own scale, how are you trying to curate your image? How are you trying to curate your image to the public? And we do that based on how we dress, how we speak, our education, our titles, right? We do this on how we post our platforms, what you're teaching, is that who you really are? What you're professing and spewing out in these social platforms, is that what you're actually doing in your daily life? And so I really want us to take some time to really think about that. How can we in our daily lives ensure that the person that we are portraying speaks not only to our reputation, but to the character of who we are? Who are we in the silence of our home? Who are we in even in our thoughts? Because, you know, it's not just, what you do. It's also the thoughts that you have, right? What are if someone can get a bird's eye view into your DMs, right? What would they find? Would they be surprised? Would you be proud of those messages of the, who do we talk about and how do we talk about people? Right? Those are the things that speak to your character of who you are. Are you a gossiper? Right? Do you speak life into people? Do you spew positivity? Or are you just negative but try to portray positivity? Right? And I just really, not only with children or people that you have level of influence with, I want us to really look into the character as to who we are. So, guys, I want you to think about when you build a life on, or a brand even, on who you want people to see or think you are rather than who you are, what is the cost of that? Right? What is the cost to your integrity? How many silence victims, do you accumulate by producing harm to those people by just, you know, if you are say like, a billionaire like Diddy, how many victims did he have? Right? He's building silent legacies that he just don't want to be public, but those people tell the real story as to who you are or who he is. So I want to challenge you when you go home, right? Because we're safer, we take for granted the people who are closest to us, the people who really have our backs, right? We feel freer to show them, the not so pleasant side when we're not performing. So I want to challenge you today to when you walk through the door, when you go home and you walk through the door, before you even step through the door, I want you to consider, is there a change in who I am going to be once I'm on the other side of that door? How am I going to speak to my spouse? Am I going to be patient? Am I going to be kind? Am I going to be loving? How am I going to treat my children? Am I going to be patient? Am I going to be kind? Am I going to be loving? Am I going to give them the grace that I would give to someone else's child, right? And so I want you to really think about the way in which you moving forward, not only in a public space, but in a private space. And, I want you to challenge yourself for the upcoming week. Over the next 7 days, I want you to really hone in on the responsibility you have to be who you say you are, right? Do, I want you to do acts of kindness that no one will ever see, right? I want you to do something, that is true to who you are without the praise. Because I think a lot of times we do things for the praise. We do them, because we know that it's gonna add to the idea of the person that we want to portray, right? That reputation. But do it because you want to do it. That's how you build character, right? When you do the thing that you without the expectation of anything in return. When you do the thing because it's the right thing to do. When you do the thing because you love the people who show you love and you want to show up for them in a way that, you would expect them to show up for you. See, the thing is, when we have the people that are closest to us, we take them for granted, right? Because we expect and we anticipate that they're gonna forgive us for whatever wrongdoings that we have. We expect them to forgive them for whatever harm that we cause, but they don't have to forgive us. Our family members, they don't owe you anything, right? I just recently saw a clip where this influencer was talking about just even Thanksgiving, that she is reluctant to, just do Thanksgiving for the sake of doing Thanksgiving and being around family that she, in her core, don't even want to be around, who may not even like, right? For the sake of, because of just the fact that they're family. And that becomes because, we take family for granted. We cause them so much harm in just our actions, in our words. And because the same blood runs through our veins, we believe that they're just supposed to forgive and forget. But they hurt. And you're not only hurting them, you are building a character, right? Of patterns of negative and harmful behavior that speaks more to who you are than who people think you are when you're outside that door, right? So I want to implore you for this week, and I'm challenging you for this week, work on your character more so than your reputation. And, I think if everybody does that, this world will be such a better place. And I mean, this is not just, for my children or for you. I'm going to practice this as well. We all tend to be a little more relaxed when you're in our safe space. But I want to also, in our effort to grow, right? And to be a better person and to try to be a better person every day. These are the things that we have to practice, working on our character. I also want to emphasize that, this isn't about feeling shame. This is about aligning you, right? Making you feel more alignment in your life. And it's not about beating yourself up either for anything that you've done in your past. It's about looking to the future, because one of the things, that I implore in this channel, in connecting your passions to purpose, not only do you have to be authentic to who you are, but, people underestimate how authenticity is currency, right? Authenticity should be one of the main parts of your brand, the brand of who you are. And so you want people to not just see who you are, but know who you are. People feel closer to you. People connect with you when they can predict your behaviors. And if those behaviors more align with positivity and authenticity, that is golden. That is what you want to portray. So it's not about beating yourself up. In connecting your passions to purpose, you have to feel, in order to feel that sense of fulfillment and purpose, you have to feel alignment first. Because if you're not aligned, you won't be able to find your passions. You won't know how to connect your passions to purpose without that love of alignment. What are some of the small acts that you can do to realign yourself? If you find that you're being, snippy or, being unkind to the people that you love, one, notice it, recognize what you're doing, and apologize quickly, right? I think this is one of the quickest way to show growth, when you're able to take culpability for your actions. So apologize quickly. Also, one of the things that you can do is just, flip the script. Like if you find yourself getting to a place where you're building impatience, I want you to pause. Number one, pause, reflect, and think in a very empathetic way. What can I do in this moment to change the trajectory of how I've always acted towards this person? How can I be kinder to this person in this moment? And I want you guys to, let me know how it went. I want you to tell me all the things that you've done, all the acts of kindness, all the patience that you exercise, how you loved on the people who loves you the most. How are you showing up for the people who's been there, who's been showing up for you, who accept you for who you are. And I want you to report back to me and tell me, how does that feel? Do you feel that you're growing? Do you feel that sense of alignment? And, I want you to just focus more on, character over your reputation. And with that, guys, I hope this resonated with you all. I hope that you guys find purpose in this message and join us next time on the Korean Connection. Let's connect. Thank you guys for connecting with me today. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to my channel, The Korean Connection. To connect with me, you can email me at thekoreanconnection@gmail.com. And don't forget that sometimes your passion whispers before it roars. And if you're listening closely, the next episode might be where it gets louder. Let's connect. Push it to the left,